everyone, this is Sara and welcome to my crochet channel. Today's video I'm going to show you how to make these heart doilies. These are perfect for adding a candy dish or maybe a candle, and you can make them out of cotton or acrylic, and the cotton ones make great washcloths to add to maybe a gift set or just to put in your guest bathroom. Now these are about 8 by 8 inch hearts, and they're all made out of a medium number 4. But if you want to make them bigger, we'll use a bigger hook and thicker yarn. These measure 10 by 10. Now this is a free crochet pattern on my blog, and you can find that blog link down in the notes underneath this video. So what you're going to need to make this size is either some worsted weight number 4 yarn. I'm going to be using this lavender and this cream today to make one that looks like this with the 2 colors. But you can use as many colors as you want. Like this one has lots of colors. Use up your scraps and make some beautiful hearts. This heart is made with Caron Simply Soft, so it's shiny. So you can just use whatever of the worsted weight number 4 yarns that you have. Now this one is made out of cotton, and you can use a peaches and cream or sugar and cream, or I love this cotton, to make it into a washcloth. And it's done exactly the same, it's just made with a different yarn. And for this size, we're going to be using an H hook. And our H hook is a 5.00 millimeter H hook. And this, for the demonstration, is the size that we're going to be making today. Now, if you want to make your heart bigger, you can use a chunky number 5 yarn like this. And you can use your J hook. And the J hook is a 6.00 millimeter hook. So you can either use chunky number 5 yarn and your J hook, or you can use your H hook and worsted weight or cotton medium for the 8 by 8 inch heart. So for today's demonstration, I'm going to be making my heart out of this lavender yarn and trimming it with this cream yarn. And of course, I'm going to be using my H hook because I'm making the 8 by 8 inch size, and it's a 5.00 millimeter hook. We'll also need a needle for weaving in our ends, and of course, a pair of scissors. Okay, let's get started. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to chain 5 chains. So here's our slip knot. And we're going to chain 5. We're going to join this chain in a circle. So we'll take the tail of our yarn, wrap it over our hook, and pull it through that loop. There we go. And I like to just make one little extra knot just to make sure it's going to hold. And now we have a little loop that we're going to be crocheting in. Now we're going to turn our hook or our loop over so that the tail of our yarn is on this side. We'll put our hook in, pull up a loop, and we're going to chain 4. Now this chain 4 counts as a double crochet and a chain 1. So we're going to double crochet, yarn over, go in that same loop, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, and go through the second 2, and then we're going to chain 1. So this first 3 chains counted as our first double crochet, and then our chain 1, and then we double crochet and chained 1. So that gives us 2, and we need to continue because we need 11 double crochets and chain 1 in this first circle. And if you'll notice, I'm stitching over that yarn tail. And that's going to make it easy for us to weave that in when we're done. All right, let's count and see how many we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 9. 10. We need one more. 11. Double crochet, chain 1. And now we need to join this chain 1 to the top of our chain 3. Now make sure that you join to the chain 3, not the chain 4. 1, 2, 3. Put your hook in, pull up a loop, and then pull that loop through the loop that's already on your hook. And this is our first row. We need 11 sets of double crochet, chain 1. All right, let's do row 2. We're going to go in this next chain 1 space, pull up a loop, and chain 3. This chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. We're going to stitch another double crochet in that chain 1 space. And the chain 1 space is just the little hole that was left when we made the chain 1. So we're going to chain 1, and then we'll go to the next chain 1 space and we'll stitch 2 double crochets, and a chain 1. So now we're going to repeat 2 double crochets, chain 1 in each of the chain 1 spaces around. So here's our next chain 1 space. So we'll go in there and stitch a double crochet. We'll stitch another double crochet and chain 1. Two double crochets, chain 1 all the way around. And we'll continue this till we get back around here, and then we'll join to the top of the chain 3. Two double crochets, chain 1 in each of the chain 1 spaces around, and now I'm going to join to the top of the chain 3, the slip stitch. I'm going to slip stitch in the next double crochet, and then I'm going to slip stitch in the chain 1 space and chain 3. And for round or row 3, we're going to place 3 double crochets in each of the chain 1 spaces around, with the chain 1 in between. Our chain 3 here counted as our first double crochet, so we're going to stitch 2 more double crochets in that chain 1 space. And chain 1. And now we'll do this all the way around. We'll stitch 3 double crochets in the chain 1 space, and then we'll chain 1. And we'll do this all the way around, and we'll join to the top of our chain 3 again. 3 double crochets, chain 1 in each of the chain 1 spaces around, and now we're going to join to the top of the chain 3. And then we're going to slip stitch in the top of those next 2 double crochets, and then we're going to go in this next chain 1 space, slip stitch and chain 3. Now this row is a little bit different, and it's going to begin to form the heart. So what we're going to do in this first chain 1 space, we have our chain 3, which counts as our double crochet. We're going to stitch 2 more double crochets, 1 and 2. We're going to chain 2 and then stitch 3 more double crochets in this same chain 1 space. All right, we're going to chain 1, and in this next chain 1 space we're going to stitch 2 single crochets. So we'll go in the chain 1 space and pull up a loop, yarn over and go through both loops, and then we'll do that again right in that same chain 1 space, and then we'll chain 1. In the next chain 1 space we're going to do similar what we did over here. We're going to do 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. Chain 2 and 3 more double crochets. And now we're going to chain 2. And this is beginning to form the bumps of the heart. All right, so let's move on around, and what we're going to do in all of the chain 1 spaces around is we're going to put 3 double crochets, chain 2. So I've already chained 2, so I'm going to place 3 double crochets in the next chain 1 space, and chain 2, and we'll repeat this all the way around. Chain 2, 3 double crochets, 1 more. Go, and chain 2, and we'll continue this all the way around to reach back up here, and we'll join to the top of this chain 3. I continued stitching my 3 double crochets, chain 2, all the way around in each of the chain 1 spaces, and I've done my chain 2 here, and we're going to join to the top of the chain 3 with a slip stitch, and then we need to slip stitch in the next 2 double crochets, there we go, and then slip stitch in the next chain 2 space, and we're going to chain 4. This chain 4 counts as a triple crochet, and in this first corner of our first little hump of our heart here, we're going to stitch 5 more triple crochets. So we're going to yarn over twice, put your hook in the chain 2 space, and pull up a loop. There'll be 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, go through the second 2, yarn over, and go through the third 2. Our chain 4 counted as 1 triple, and then we stitched 1 triple. So we need to stitch 4 more triples in the same chain 2 space. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. We need to do 1 more. So we have a total of 6 triples. We're going to chain 2. 1, 2. We're going to place a single crochet in this chain 1 space. Then we're going to stitch a single crochet between those 2 single crochets. So just put your hook between and stitch your single crochet. And then we'll stitch a single crochet in this chain 1 space. And then chain 2. And that just makes the middle of the heart come down. And now we're going to go back up and stitch 6 triple crochets in this corner. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is the last one here. You can see the heart beginning to form around there. We're going to stitch 2, and then in this next chain 2 space we're going to stitch 5 triple crochets. There's 3. Whoops, there we go. All right, here's my 5th one. Then I'm going to chain 2. And you can see how the heart is starting to move around that corner. The next thing that we need to do is we're going to stitch 3 double crochets in our next chain 2 space. And chain 2. Let's get some more yarn out here. And we're going to repeat this in the next 2 chain 2 spaces. So we'll stitch 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And we chain 2. So now we've come down the side of our heart and we're going to stitch the point. And in the point we're going to stitch 7 triple crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We need to do 2 more. 6 and 7. And that's going to give us our point at the bottom of our heart. So now we're going to chain 2, and then we're going to repeat the 3 double crochets, chain 2 in the next 3 chain 2 spaces. And chain 2. There's our point, and here's our 3 double crochets, chain 2 spaces. And now we're going to stitch in this last chain 2 space the 5 triple crochets like we did over here to round out the corner of the heart. Oops, 2 wraps. There we go. So we're stitching 5 triples. One more. There we go. Chain 2, and then we'll join to the top of that chain 4 with a slip stitch, and we don't need a slip stitch anywhere to get back because we're going to be doing just a row of single crochets next. Now if you're a little concerned about it rolling up, it's okay. When we do this next row, which is our trim row of single crochets, it'll help it flatten out and then it will lay pretty. So now it's time to add our trim, and we're going to begin first with just a row of single crochets. So we're going to place a single crochet in each of the triples, just stitching 1 single crochet in each one. Oops, I was thinking doubles again. All right, so now we're going to place 2 singles in the chain 2 space. We're going to put a single in each of those 3 singles right there in the center. There we go. We'll put 2 singles in the chain 2 space, and then a single in each of those triples. All right, you can see that's going to help it get a nice smooth edge and lay nicely. All right, so now we're to a chain 2 space, and we're going to stitch 2 singles in there, and then we'll stitch a single in each of these 5 triples. And now we're to the next chain 2 space, and we'll stitch 2 singles in the chain 2 space. And of course we'll stitch a single in each of the double crochets and 2 in each of the chain 2 spaces. All right, so now we're down to the bottom of the point of our heart. So what we're going to do is we're going to stitch one single in the first 3 triples. And then that next triple, we're going to stitch 3 singles in it. And that's just going to help the point of the heart be nice and pointy. So we stitch 3 in that center triple. And then the next 3 triples, we're just going to stitch 1 single crochet. You can see that gives it a nice point for the bottom of our heart. All right, so now we're working up the other side, and we're going to do it the same. 2 singles in the chain 2 space, 1 single in each of the 3 double crochets, and then we'll repeat that. 2 singles in the chain 2 space, and a single in each of the double crochets. 2 singles in the chain 2 space, and 1 single in each of the double crochets. 2 singles in the chain 2 space, and now we're to those 5 triples, and so we'll put 1 single in each of those triples. Oops, there we go. All right. 1 single in the 2, chain 2 space, and then we'll join right to that first single that we made with a slip stitch. And now you have a heart. And you can pull on it a little bit and stretch it, and if you feel like you need to block it, you certainly can. I haven't had to block any of mine. So now we need to add that lacy trim. So what we're going to do is cut our yarn. Make sure you leave enough on there so you can weave that in when we're done. We're going to join our light color in. I'm using this cream, but you can use, you know, white or whatever color goes with what you're doing, or you can just leave it the same color. We're going to chain 3. We'll skip the next stitch and stitch a slip stitch in the next stitch. And chain 3. And that's how simple the lacy trim is. Chain 3. Skip the next stitch and stitch a slip stitch. One, 2, 3. Skip the next stitch and stitch a slip stitch in the next. 1, 2, 3. Skip the next stitch. And this just adds just a little extra fun, makes it a little bit more of a romantic heart. And that's why I think these are the perfect size for decorations. You can make a scarf out of these just by sewing them together. You could make a bunting and hang them across your Valentine party room. And the large ones could even be used for placemats. So there's lots of possibilities with this little heart. So I'm just going to continue on around, chain 3, skip the next stitch, and slip stitch in the next for my lacy trimmed heart doily. So I stitched the lacy trim all the way around. Now I'm going to join to that first slip stitch, my hook in there with the slip stitch, and then clip my yarn. And now we need to weave in our ends. Alright, so I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to show you the back. And where we stitched over this tail of our yarn, you should be able to gently pull that hole closed. And then we'll just weave that end in so it stays put. And so we'll just go in that little circle of the center. And then I like to go back the other direction and then do it again, because I definitely want that center to stay put. All right. There's that one. And now we're still on the back side, and now we need to weave in these ends up here. And one thing to remember is when you're working with different colors, you want to try to stay in the same color because you don't want your threads to show through. So I'm just going to weave that purple one in, go one way, then the other, and then back the other way. All right, now this other ones, they can be just a little bit tricky because we don't have a lot of area to weave in. So just be careful. Try to stay within the chain. You might turn the other way and come back the way you came. There we go. And clip that one. And then we'll do the same thing to this one. So here is our completed Heart Doily. This is the 8x8, and I really love the lavender and cream on this one because it gives it kind of an antique look and would look beautiful with a candle or a candy dish sitting on it. Or you can take all of these hearts of all different colors and make a beautiful bunting. Now this is the 8x8 inch size, and remember, you can make a 10x10, and it would also make a wonderful placemat for your romantic dinner. So this is my Heart Doily crochet pattern.